This is going to be a short, spoiler-free review. I'll talk about the episode in more detail and go scene by scene in another video soon. So, Hot D premiered and it was pretty good, I think. The story was good, except some parts which I didn't like, and I will talk about them in the other video. The dialogue was well written, considering there is practically no dialogue in the source material, and also the amount of exposition this episode had to do. Speaking of exposition, I think they could have done a better job introducing the world and the characters for the audiences who are not familiar with the Fire and Blood book or the Game of Thrones show. But for me, it was great, as I'm a fan of the books and a semi fan of the show and don't like exposition. This episode has some similarity with Game of Thrones, like the music, done by Ramin Djawadi, the same composer as Game of Thrones, with a few motifs used that you may recall hearing in Game of Thrones. But other than that, House of the Dragon feels very different to Game of Thrones in both feel and scale. Hot D has a larger budget than Game of Thrones, and it shows in the locations, the costumes, the armor, the heraldry, everything. The show also feels very different. It's brighter, more colorful, it feels more like George R. R. Martin's description of his world. It also feels more medieval than Game of Thrones. It's also very cinematic and fast paced and very brutal. Especially one scene, you'll know what I'm talking about when you watch the episode. There's also a couple of scenes that are unrealistically violent, but I guess HBO had to establish what kind of show this is going to be early on, and you better believe that I'll complain about it when I get to those scenes. The acting is great, and the praise for Paddy Considine's Viserys from George R. R. Martin is deserved. The CGI overall looks good most of the time, and the dragons look great. The best part of the show yet is the depiction of the characters from the book. It looks like nobody will be whitewashed, and that's great. It will make for some interesting stuff as the story progresses. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more House of the Dragon videos and some other stuff. Cheers.